What are we saying then, lads? Have we just seen the most mental weekend of Premier League football? Honestly, this weekend has just made me question everything I ever knew about the Premier League. Welcome back to The Verdict. Hello guys, how are we getting on? My name is Aaron Kelly. Welcome back to another episode of the Premier League Verdict. Now, as you've probably gathered from the title, today we will not just be talking about Chelsea, and that is what I intend to do with this series. Once again, from now on, is get a little bit of a summary of the rest of the games, and my boy, what a good decision that was. We'll get into today's absolute madness later on in the video. First, we're going to start off with my beloved Chelsea, who kicked off the weekend with a 4-0 win over Crystal Palace. All 4 goals scored in the second half, and all relatively out there and outlandish goal scorers. Ben Chilwell got his very first for the club before setting up Kurt Zouma for Chelsea's second. Tammy Abraham was fouled inside the box, Jorginho converting the penalty, and Jorginho again converting a penalty after Kai Havertz was fouled in the box to make it a very, very comfortable, straightforward win for Chelsea. And on top of that, a clean sheet and a defensively sound performance. I know, it's absolutely fucking astounding. It was actually the first Chelsea game, I think, in months that I actually haven't watched. I was out recording a football video. That football video was an absolute flop. I tried to record the Premier League Recreation Series Episode 1 for 2020-21. But yeah, that ended up being an absolute fucking disaster. So I'm going to try and re-record that later on in the week. But anyway, moving on to our second game, which was Everton, who are now incredibly the only side to have 100% record after 4 games, after a 4-2 win at home to Brighton. Once again, Dominic Calvert-Lewin was the man to give Everton the inspiration they needed when he headed in across to make it 1-0. It was then drawn back 11 after Neil Maupay capitalised on yet another Jordan Pickford mistake. But it was Yerry Mina then who pulled one back for Everton before 2 goals from James Rodriguez made the game safe for Everton, but a brilliant Basuma goal did pull one back for Brighton with only a couple of seconds left on the clock to finish 4-2 to Everton. As I said, the only side, incredibly, going into the first international break of the season with a 100% record in the Premier League, and they are looking very, very strong at the minute. For the second week running then, Manchester City dropped points. This time it was at Ellen Road against Leeds United. They took the lead after an incredibly dominant display in the first 20-25 minutes thanks to Raheem Sterling, but Leeds were gritty, they fought hard, they stuck in there, and it was a Rodrigo goal in the second half that rescued a point for Leeds after some absolutely calamitous goalkeeping from Ederson, someone who is so, reliable 99.999% of the time. This was the one time where he makes a bollocks of coming to try and claim a cross from a corner, and Rodrigo was there, Johnny on the spot, to make it 1-1 and rescue a point for Leeds, who were very, very much, certainly in that second half, full value for their point. And there's still a lot of questions about Manchester City defensively and going forward after Gabriel Jesus and Sergio Aguero both still injured. The final game of Saturday was a 3-1 win for Newcastle, very much inspired by Alan Saint-Maximin. He got the first to give them the lead against Burnley, who equalised through Ashley Westwood. Then 2 goals from Callum Wilson, including a penalty, claimed all 3 points for Steve Bruce's side on a torrential, horrific rainy night up in the northeast. Moving on to the mental games that happened this Sunday then, and it was kicked off very much in the most ridiculous fashion, as was to be continued for the rest of the day, when Leicester City, the only side along with the 2 Merseyside teams to have a 100% record going into match week 4, being beaten by 3-0 by West Ham United. Michail Antonio, Pablo Fornals and Jared Bowen with the goals at the King Power Stadium. And for the second game running since David Moyes has been diagnosed with COVID-19, West Ham have absolutely battered the team and won by 3-0. So maybe Moyes is just better off sitting on his arse and watching the game over Zoom. Southampton beat West Brom by 2-0 thanks to goals from Djenepo and Oriol Romeu. Arsenal were successful in their game against Sheffield United at the Emirates thanks to goals from Bukayo Saka and from Nicola Pepe. David McGoldrick did get the Sheffield United goal today. And Wolves were victorious over Fulham, who just look absolutely hopeless so far in the Premier League thanks to Pedro Neto's goal. They got the win at Molineux this afternoon. Moving on to the absolute madness that occurred then in the final 2 games of the Premier League weekend then. Starting off at Old Trafford, where Manchester United were beaten by 6-1 by Tottenham Hotspur. Jose Mourinho's Tottenham Hotspur, equaling their previous worst defeat in Premier League history after Manchester City bet them 6-1 back in 2011-12. And it looked to be the perfect start for Manchester United. Took the lead after, surprise, surprise, another Bruno Fernandes penalty after Anthony Martial was fouled in the box by Davinson Sanchez. To be fair to Bruno Fernandes, he just doesn't miss from 12 yards, does he? Not too long after that then, though, Tottenham were level through Ndombele, and it was absolute comical defending from Manchester United, particularly from Harry Maguire. Ndombele put it away, and not too long after that, they were 2-1 up Tottenham after some smart thinking from Harry Kane, quick thinking, played the ball through for Heung-min Son to roll it past David De Gea to make it 2-1 to Tottenham. Then a lot of United fans will argue the game was turned on its head when Anthony Martial was sent off for raising a hand on Eric Lamela. VAR checked it and somehow still didn't send Lamela off, even though he raised his hands at Martial first. Now, I'm not saying Martial was, in the innocent party at all. I mean, Martial did raise his hand, and by the letter of the law, if you raise your hand at a player in the Premier League or in football in general, it's a red card automatically. But my question is, Lamela does the exact same thing, so I don't see why he doesn't get the exact same punishment. A lot of United fans would argue that this is how the game turned on its head, but up until this point, realistically, Tottenham were still all over Manchester United and were still full value for their lead. They got 2 more goals then before the end of the first half, and it was Harry Kane who got the third. Son got his second then to make it 4-1 at half time. Then second half goals from Serge Aurier and a penalty from Harry Kane after Paul Pogba fouled Ben Davies completed Manchester United's absolute humiliation. But the absolute icing on the cake was Patrice Evra after the game, who just absolutely lost the plot.
Patrice mentioned normally you'd get someone standing.
I get the feeling you just would rather be anywhere else, but here right now.
Alexis Sanchez made a comment. He said when he signed from United at his first training session, he asked his agent to end up his contract. That's why I'm going to ask to Sky. I really would like to end up my contract with Sky because it's my second game. I'm a positive person. And I never want to talk about United because when you tell the truth, it can hurt. I don't promote the violence.
Patrice, you better be careful what you say here, bud.
But many people need some good slap right now in this club.
Now, I'm afraid there's going to have to be a certain amount of violence. But at least we know it's all in a good cause.
Wow. I mean, to be fair, can you blame him? Look, it's absolutely clear to see why he's emotionally, worked up as he was, because the performance from Manchester United was just absolutely awful. I genuinely couldn't pick one player who played in that Man United team today that genuinely had a good game. He hauled Bruno Fernandes and Nemanja Matic at halftime and brought on Scott McTominay and Fred. Like, you've got Donny van de Beek there. I'd love to know what he's thinking right now. After signing from Man United, big money signing, he's come in and he's just struggling to break into this, let's be honest, struggling Manchester United team. But I will give credit where credit's due. Tottenham were absolutely brilliant and they completely took advantage of Manchester United's, shortcomings and punished them absolutely ruthlessly. And you don't hear me complimenting Tottenham often, they're not exactly my favourite team, are they? But they were absolutely wonderful today and were full value for all 6 of their goals. Arguably not as outrageous as what happened at Villa Park, where the champions Liverpool have just been beaten by 7 goals to 2 by Dean Smith's Aston Villa, who now have 3 wins out of 3, or obviously have played a game less than everybody else because they were due to play either City or United on the opening day. But 3 wins out of 3 sees them in a top 3 now, which contains Everton, themselves, Aston Villa, and Leicester City. I mean, honestly, this Premier League table is like something out of the early 1900s. Now, I didn't actually get to watch the Liverpool game because the internet decided to have an absolute mad one this evening, but from what I seen, I did see the first Ollie Watkins goal. Obviously, Ollie Watkins got a hat-trick this evening, Jack Grealish got a goal, Ross Barkley got a goal. 7-2. Mo Salah got both of Liverpool's goals, and obviously, there's bad news this week that Thiago obviously has COVID-19, as does Sadio Mane. Alisson was injured as well, so Adrian took the wheel today. Oh God, I love that video. This is a real, humbling of humblings for Liverpool. I can't think of anything else that could have humbled them more than this. To lose by such a margin to a side who just about avoided relegation this year. Now I think they've actually done incredible business. I think Emi Martinez is an absolutely excellent signing from Arsenal. I think Ross Barkley is a brilliant signing, and the big one was Ollie Watkins for 28 million from Brentford, and it was a question of whether or not he could hit the ground running. But boy, has he hit the ground running tonight with a hat-trick against the champions. I mean, what a way to announce yourself into the Premier League. Fair play to Ollie Watkins, fair play to Aston Villa, man. Unbelievable. But Liverpool, absolutely disgraceful. Like, that is just not acceptable. How can Manchester United lose 6-1 and you still look like the biggest embarrassment of the weekend? So yeah, boys, let me know your thoughts on the games in the comments section down below. Make sure you leave a like if you did enjoy, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Can we hit 400 subscribers on the channel by the end of the year? That'd be just bloody lovely, you know that. As I said, boys, leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you are new, and I will catch you later.